Are you trying to tell me that we're going to do a program today that not only has a mailbag, but Joe Woods, too? That's happening today?
That's right. Let's go.
Wow. Wow. Merely Beau, Merely Z, and the great large P, the great Gibby.
Gibby.
What a job out of you, Gibby.
Oh, boy. This is a great first Saturday. Boy, yes, it is.
Really? Great first Saturday for you. You know, ever since you told me that, it was a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and you said the only problem with the first Friday is that how bad Thursday sucks. And ever since you brought that to my attention, boy, does it. Boy, does it. Thursday really stinks now.
Yeah.
And I had never thought of it that way. I've always just thought of it, no big deal. Just get through your Thursday. It's basically another Monday, but just power through and you got another Friday. But now I have noticed how bad the Thursday sucks because you really want Thursday to be Friday is what you want.
Of course you do, but it's not.
Yeah.
And you don't have Thursday night football. Thursdays in the football season
Oh,
are great. That's
a huge point out of you.
That's when you have the peak. That's when it just flows. First Friday flows into the weekend, and then all of a sudden, the only day that's not really that great is Tuesday.
That's it.
That's it. You have 6 great days otherwise.
Yeah. Other than that, it's pure joy all the way around. It really is Tuesday's the only one that's pure crud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you probably have that right. And we had an interesting question from Ned this morning on the social about, I assume he asked it too. Obviously, I don't follow you on social, but he said how, what is the best 2 days for you to maximize, your time off? Is it there's options were a Monday, Friday. I think it was a Thursday, Friday, and then it was a Monday, Tuesday to like maximize the weekend. It's easily Monday and Friday, Monday days off. I mean, that's
the quintessential 4-day weekend. I will say there is, if it's a 3-day that you're missing trip, if it's 3 days that you're missing, I think that there's a lot of merit to taking that on the back end as opposed to going Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then going on your vacation, which would have you come back Sunday. I think there's a lot of merit if it's a 3-day to go Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Couldn't agree more.
Come back, you have Thursday, Friday, and then you're on the weekend again.
You nailed it. If you got 3 days, if I've got 3 days, it is always Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
That's what we did.
Those are the days I take.
That's what we did. Yeah.
That's it. That's exactly right. And then what? Because honestly, on a Friday, unless it's like, in football season, but even those are pure joy. A football Friday is pure joy.
Of course.
And the rest of the time, at best, folks, you're getting about 64% out of me on a Friday. I mean, I'm not engaged. I'm not paying attention. Are you kidding me on a Friday?
Thank goodness.
My car's started. I'm out the door, man.
Your 64%
so, yeah, you have that right.
is better than Panther Cologne, which 50% of the time works every time. Your 64%
works every time. It works.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's get into the OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Sheet for copy or provider, your Cleveland Browns. All the X's and O's for your office. You can call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. A week from today is the NFL Draft. Thank the good Lord for that. And the weather looking like it's going to be pretty sweet. So that's a win. We're going to get all the cold and rain out of our way and should have a decent week, provided, it's a long ways out to forecast. And when I used to work in the local television business, we had a 10-day forecast. And I really, really nailed down my good buddy Chris Bradley at the time, God rest his soul, and I said, let's be real honest here. What are you confident with? 2 days. 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
All right. So we'll talk on Tuesday, and then we'll have a good idea what Thursday's going to be. So that's the way that'll go, but that'll be a lot of fun. What would be, if you could draw it up, Chamber of Commerce, what are you hoping for?
Weather-wise for the draft?
Yeah.
72, sunny.
Would you sacrifice temperature for clear?
100%.
1,000%.
You can't go higher than 100%.
Yeah. I would take 52 and sunny, Bluebird Day. Sign me up.
For sure.
I'll take that over 72 and gray and a little bit of rain, whatever. No, what I want is no precipitation, clear.
Blue skies.
I will sacrifice 20 degrees of temperature
I'll give you 20
for
degrees.
blue skies.
I don't want to be in the 40s, though.
It has to start with a 5.
Yep. We're in agreement.
Yep. That's where we're at on that. Do you think that you and I gave proper – I am fascinated by this NFL single-digit thing. for a lot of reasons. I'm fascinated from the standpoint of if you want to change this year, you have to buy out the NFL of all of the replica jerseys in your number that have been made already for this year. So a player like Derrick Henry, that's a pretty big check.
It's a big check.
That he's going to have to scratch out.
He's got big checks. Now, if he wants to just wait a year, it's free.
Yes, so long as, and obviously he would be such where he would have the ability with the Titans to say, hey, don't give out 2. That's me. That's mine. Don't give that one out. And I'm sure they would acquiesce. The question is, does his career, what happens? Like, what happens if he breaks down and is unable to wear it? This might be his only chance to wear it. So that's something I think you got to factor in on this thing quite a bit. And that is why, if you'll remember, when the Lakers acquired Anthony Davis, this is something the NBA does. When the Lakers acquired Anthony Davis, LeBron had only been there 1 year. LeBron wore 23, was voluntarily switching to 6 to acquiesce to Anthony Davis wearing 23. The NBA said that's fine, along with Nike, but they said you're also going to have to scratch out a check to pay for all these 23 Laker jerseys we made. So you can go to 6.
Sure.
Write the check. And LeBron said, you know what? 23 works for me. AD, why don't you wear 3? How's about that? Does that work for you? And that's how that happened. I think a couple of things are really fascinating on this. Number one, if you are an established player in a number, how willing will you be to go to another number?
Yep.
Number two, how are individual teams going to determine who gets a number? For example, I don't know if you saw this. You see the spat play out in L.A. last night?
I did not. Ooh, I like it.
Jalen Ramsey wore 13 and 8 at Florida State.
Yep.
Okay? He wore 13 and 8 at Florida State. Robert Woods wore 2 at USC. Jalen Ramsey tweets, I got to get my hands on that 2. Woods goes, man, that wasn't even your number in college. I got 2.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're running the Rams, now they were playful back and forth, and they said, we'll solve this over dinner, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that there was just a touch of truth to, wait a second, man, you didn't even wear this in college. Now you're trying to claim 2?
I ruled for Robert Woods.
And now the reason Ramsey didn't wear 2 is because at Florida State it's retired and you can't.
Correct.
Can't wear it. So that's why he didn't wear 2. So if you are the Rams, how are you going to determine if you're an equip? Whose call is this?
It's got McVay's call. It's going to be McVay's call.
Coach
makes that decision.
Okay.
And I think he'll give it to Woods. They're both captains, by the way. Woods was a captain last year, as was Ramsey.
Yep.
I think you're going to give it to Woods because he's got the more legal claim to the number.
Based on
that he wore
wearing it in college.
Correct. Ramsey didn't get to wear it. I know you went to Florida State. You knew that when you went to Florida State.
You knew that going in.
Too. That's prime time.
There will be many instances like this, though, where there are guys who have claims
spats.
to it.
Sure.
There will be huge spats over this. Will this be a situation where it is, how will you resolve those? Will this fall specifically on the coach? How much will the equipment manager have to do with this? What happens for a rookie coming in who wants to wear a 2 and a veteran says, no, I'm wearing a 2 in 2022. You can't wear it. Like if we take a corner in the first round, let's say Caleb Farley falls to us and he wants to wear 2. Well, first of all, Cody's wearing it right now, but let's just say, all right, I want 2. And Denzel goes, no, I'm wearing 2 in 2022.
Denzel Ward wins that battle.
I would think so, too.
Yes, 100%.
But these will be the things.
So my question for you is, though, like let's say, so Delpit, I think, is of all the people in the best possible situation, right? There probably aren't a ton of 22 Delpits out there. He got hurt before the season started. I can't imagine there's a huge stock. So that side of it will be easy. Now, the question I have is, would he have to buy any Jamie Gillen 7s that are out there as
I would think.
Is it just your
but
stock
that would probably
that you
be
have
a
to
small,
buy? Is it just,
I think he would have to buy his. In the instance of kicking a kicker or punter out of a number, I think you'd have to buy up your number and the kicker and punter number, which would be minimal. Let's be honest.
Sure.
Although the Hammer probably has as many punter numbers as anybody. It's probably the Hammer. So, and then you'd have to pay off the Hammer to see if he's willing to come off a 7. Like, I don't think we're not just going to give Grant Delpit 7. And this is all hypothetical. Who knows how it's going to play out. But I don't think we're going to just give it to him. I mean, Cody wears 2. That is probably the most coveted single digit. It's probably 2.
He's in a good position to cash in. And you see, did you see, for example, Jabril Peppers with the Giants was already hitting up their kicker who wears 5 so that he could get 5 back from his college days. So kickers, we said this yesterday. We were right on with that. Kickers are going to be – this is going to be huge for them. This is going to be a huge opportunity for them to get a little bit of cash out of their number. Huge opportunity for them.
Would the best way to solve this, let's just say, for example, Kareem Hunt wore 3 in college. Odell Beckham wore 3 in college. And I'm not suggesting either one wants it. I have no idea. I can see Kareem wanting it more than Odell. Odell is so known as 13 now.
Yep.
But let's just say they both wanted 3.
Yep.
How do you solve that? Is the best way for the coach almost to do a lottery and just pull names out of a hat? What do you do when they're
both that good? I mean
that's a good job out of me.
Resume is a little bit better than Kareem's.
With the Browns?
He did have 1,000 yards 2 years ago.
It's really tight though.
It's tight. It is
very tight.
You'd hope that they can
and so
come to a resolution.
You don't want to be in a position. Sure, but as a coach, you don't want to be in a position of saying, well, you're better for us than he is. You're both great, but he's a little better. Like, you don't want to be in that position. I wonder if the best way to do it would be to lottery it.
I mean, what you could do as a coach is turn this into a positive and say, okay, Kareem and Odell, we are going to have a bidding system. We're going to do an auction right now with the proceeds benefiting the Cleveland Browns Foundation or the charity of your choice.
Odell's going to win that.
Or the charity. Well, that's right. I think, but that way you're at least doing something good.
Yeah, but then so at that point though, just whoever player has accrued the most cash is going to win everything.
Well, why have players accrued the most cash?
Well, in some instances because they're good, and in some instances because they're overpaid. It can be both. Sometimes they've just played a long time in the league. Sometimes they played a long time in the league.
Well, I think you have to weigh that. I would say you have.
I just think coaches don't want to deal with any of this.
Tenure, money,
they don't want to deal with this.
But that's why I think you could turn that. Now they have to deal with it, and Odell's going to win, so Kareem might be like, all right, I'm out earlier. Kareem's going to be like, all right, you got to give $100,000 to the charity. I'll make you at least get to $100,000.
Yeah,
and then you're doing something good.
Do you think fans realize how important this is for some guys?
I don't, and that's why they said. Yeah, I forget who it was. Yeah. It may have been Ocho Cinco said that you're going to see a lot of people really become prima donnas about these numbers. Like this is opening up a big can of worms. That's going to be very very fun, but also it could cause. What do you do with an aged veteran who is now a role player that at one time was in the prime of his career and had a big number and that, and now you have your young guy who wants that number? There are going to be a lot of interesting scenarios that come out of this. It's going to be fun. And I do think the notion of making these things charitable within the organization is a smart way to go about it. Because these guys will spend money.
Yeah, I think
they will spend money.
They'll be shocked at how much they'll spend on it. Yeah. I mean, I think John Johnson could want to wear 9. He wore that in college.
Right.
I mean, he might want to wear 3. John Johnson III. I mean, he may want to, So this will all – Denzel wore 12 at Ohio State. What did Greedy wear? 4 at LSU?
Somebody put together a full list of everybody on our team who wore various numbers.
Yeah.
I think Axel did on
it's going to be –
yeah.
Well, that'd be on brand for Benny. It's a good job out of him.
It is a good job.
He's a good young man. But it will be a sprint for some of those numbers. And to your point, it's a can of worms that coaches want no part of. They want no part of it. The way it works in college, if you're a 5-star kid, you get a single digit. Period. And then as soon as you graduate, another one gets it. And veterans can move into them when guys leave.
Yep.
That happens too. I'm going to give you one more thing. Will there be defensive ends lobbying to be labeled outside linebackers so that they can wear single digits?
Not until the NFL rectifies the compensation issues.
So if you're Chase Young, do you say, I'm a 4-3. I'm a 3-4 outside linebacker.
No, because then you get
Give me
your
two.
franchise tag number gets lumped into the linebacker
number,
which is significantly less. Which is why you saw Zadarius Smith.
Why did they not just let DNs?
They just need to call them edge rushers. If you're a pass rusher, on the edge, whether you're a linebacker or a defensive end, it's one thing. That's why Zadarius Smith said, "I'm not a linebacker. Stop calling me a linebacker." But every week, because they played a 3-4, he was listed as an outside linebacker. So he gets lumped in, which is absurd that this is still happening, to the linebacker pool for the franchise tag. So they want to be defensive ends. But what's going to happen now, because it looks to me like linebackers, remember like Jameer Miller was a 95. There have been a bunch of Levon Kirkland, I feel like, was in the 90s. Are those guys not allowed to be in the 90s anymore?
Didn't B.J. Goodson wear
He wore 93 last year.
He wore 93? Yeah.
Vince Williams was 98.
Doesn't look like it.
Right.
But it seems like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. But I think it's going to lead to a lot of headaches that coaches are going to have no interest in. And that thing that's playing out in the Rams right now, that's going to play out around the league a lot of times. People making plays for those numbers. A couple other things from the rules changes. No more preseason overtime. The NFL will make taunting.
Oh, come on. Come on. This is ridiculous. Stay with the times.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. And the players like it. Even the person who's getting taunted is not like, "Oh my God, I was so disrespected. I'm angry.
I'm so sensitive.
I'm so
I can't
sensitive."
Take it.
No,
Jarvis
they're like,
that it was
"All right,
first down. I don't know what to do."
These guys are risking
That's
physical. Right? Come on. It's part of the reward of putting literally your physical health and well-being on the line to play this unbelievable game. And so there is emotion, and part of it is trash talking. There's a reason why people loved when Mike Tyson would knock somebody out, he'd stand over him. Like, yeah, I just knocked you out. That's part of the gladiator mentality, and this is a very physical, violent sport, and being able to unload some emotions is good. Celebrations are great. You earn it. You don't want somebody, Nate, you don't want somebody to celebrate. Don't let them. Like, that's it. You don't want T.O., flapping his arms in the end zone against the Ravens. Don't let him score a touchdown.
Don't let him score. Man, I hate this.
Nate.
I hate this. I hate stuff like this.
Act like you've been there, Nate.
I haven't, Dad.
That's right. I haven't.
Yeah.
I think, come on. If they start throwing 15-yard penalties for taunting, I hate that. 15-yard penalty, way too severe.
Fine them. Fine them then. Don't penalize the team on the field. Fine them $5,000.
No.
If you want to do it, fine them. The idea that a team's drive should be hit because in the view of an official, a offensive or defensive player is deemed to have taunted in a totally subjective situation, is deemed to have taunted. So I've got to listen to somebody on television, on radio say, "Oh, he's selfish. He hurt the team." Settle down. Settle down.
I don't have time for that. Think about this. Your possession starts, okay? Your possession starts, right, at the 25. Let's say off of a touchback, okay? So you have 75 yards to go. I'm not a mathematician, but I'm pretty sure 15 yards represents 20% of that 75 yards. You're going to penalize for someone being like, first down, baby. First down, baby. You can't stop me. 15 yards. Why? It's outrageous. Yards.
That's awful. Bootsy would not last in this league, I'll tell you that. He'd have no chance. Champion's prerogative.
Come on.
Yeah, that's bad. It's bad. I think just stupid. It's just absolutely stupid. The league passed a rule that will give kicking teams on the onside kick a better chance at recovering. So now this is 9 players in the setup zone. If you want this thing to have any semblance of a chance for the onside kick to be recovered by the kicking team, you've got to go back to the old rules. If you don't, then you have to change the rule for keeping the ball. It really is that simple.
I think onside kicks should work. Maybe. This is the Nathan Zegura. Maybe 5 times out of 100. You should not have.
I was going to say 10%.
That might even be high. But you should not have a play that allows a team that's been beaten all game long with a great frequency to have 2 uninterrupted possessions. It's just part of the reason is you play the whole game. Be better. I don't like things that it's like, for example, and this one, maybe this will fire some people up. I can't stand the rule in cornhole where some people play, and I played in both ways, where it's just get to 21, and if you go over 21 because on the last board you sunk all 4 of your shots and they have no chance to match you, you win. And I've also played, which I can't stand, where you've got to land on 21 exactly.
Land on 21.
So if you start with 20 and you throw the bag into the hole, which is the best shot possible in the game, now somehow the other person is just going to throw their bags on the ground and you go back to 13. Idiotic. Don't stop me.
Stupid.
If I'm on fire, you're going to tell Steph Curry you can't keep making threes? Absolutely not. Ridiculous.
Joke. Absolutely.
That's what this is. Stop making things. Or in beer pong,
Yep.
Oh, I get a chance to come back now. Why? You've lost. The game's over.
It's over. Game's
You don't get a chance to come back. You lost.
Sad.
Reward greatness.
2021 NFL Draft is coming next week. You can be a part of the action at the NFL Draft Experience. The NFL Draft Experience is a free football celebration. It's open to families and fans of all ages. The NFL just released additional tickets, guys, so space is limited. Get your free tickets today by downloading the NFL One Pass app. You'll hear from Daniel Jeremiah on the pre-draft presser with the media. A lot of good stuff here we're going to get to. And then Gibby's got a little game for us as we're going to put together our own Super League, 10 teams in the NFL. It was pretty easy for me. There were a few teams that were jockeying for the last couple of spots, but relatively easy. We will get to all of that. And, of course, the great Joe Woods will join us at 2 o'clock. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. Daniel Jeremiah, the NFL Network, with a pre-draft presser with the media and lots of questions about the Browns and our interests. The one that is interesting, I want to play number 4 here, pal. If you were the Browns and still there was a good edge rusher on the board, one good wide receiver, one good linebacker, where would you go was the question. And this was how Daniel Jeremiah approached it.
That's a good one, Mary Kay. To me,
you guys are down.
I'm excited about Clowney coming there. Obviously, his career's been defined by more disruption than production. But with the injury history being what it has been, his presence is not going to stop me from taking an edge rusher. If you feel like you have an edge rusher there that's an upgrade, do it. You can't have too many. So, again, Joe Tryon is probably one that will be in that range for me. I think he'd be a great fit there. I've mentioned Rousseau, who could slide a little bit. I think he would be a great fit there as well. Linebacker-wise, they're in a sweet spot. Jamin Davis is one of my favorite players in the draft. I think when you look at the Tulsa linebacker, he's probably going to be gone. He's getting some buzz as we're kind of coming down through the process. He reminds me of Anthony Barr, so I think Zaven Collins is probably gone. But Bolton from Missouri is worthy of going there, who can really run, is a good player. So those are like some really good options. I don't know there's a bad one. And then receiver-wise, I think, unfortunately with Terrace Marshall's had some medical stuff that popped at the combine, so I think that could cause him to slide a little bit. I think Rashad Bateman is probably going to be that guy that goes in that range, late 1, early 2. A different style of receiver is Elijah Moore, who's undersized, but he's one of my favorite guys because he can do so many different things. He's exciting. But I was just talking about this the other day, Mary Kay. I know I'm supposed to be answering questions, but I'm going to ask you one. Because I was talking with the team the other day, and we brought up the Julio Jones trade. And I think that the Falcons were picking right around where the Browns were picking when they made that bold move. They thought they were close, and they went all the way up. And I was just thinking of, okay, well, if the Cleveland Browns were going to do something like that and try and put the kind of finishing touch on this roster, who would that be? And I know they paid Hooper, but I'm like, man, if Kyle Pitts was there at 7 and you're the Cleveland Browns and you want to mortgage a bunch of stuff to go get somebody, he would be fun. But I'd be curious to know who you would target on that, or who you would think the Browns, what position they could look at if they wanted to be bold in this draft.
Oh boy, that's interesting. I mean, I could see the receiver position just because they have to start planning ahead for life after Odell and Jarvis. So that is one way they could go. But I don't see a big, bold move up
10 seconds,
the top 10 or anything like that.
All right. You didn't want to play the game, Mary Kay. All right, that's fine. I'm just hoping. I want some excitement on draft night. I need somebody to make some bold, crazy.
Here we go.
Maybe it won't be the Browns.
You guys are up.
Okay, let's play. If there was a bold move to be made, and you were to say, this is what we need, and you and I have said 1,000 times, I don't think there's one thing, but if it's anything, it's corner. Isn't Patrick Surtain it? Like, that'd be the guy, probably.
Yeah.
If he's your consensus one corner, it seems like he's separated.
Go to 8 or to 10, something like that. It's a lot to give up. I mean, to me, I think the answer he gave is the one, right? You put Kyle Pitts in this offense and forget about it. That would require roster changes as a result of that, or involved in the trade to move up. He would be
in the way that we use Chief, is how he would be.
He would change everything. Blocker. He would become our Kittle. He'd become Kittle.
But he's not Kittle. He's more Waller. He's more Mike Evans. Like, he's not a blocker.
He would be our
he's
leading
not willing
receiver.
to do the things Kittle.
I bet he would be our leading receiver.
Yes. I agree with you. He would be. So he would be, but he wouldn't be somebody.
Maybe Travis Kelce. He'd be
you think about like Vernon Davis. Yeah, you think about how Vernon Davis was used early with the Niners.
But he was a hellacious
you got the
blocker.
chip and you get, but not at the beginning. As it went along, he was, but not in the beginning when he first came in. So you'd have to train him up in that because he's really a receiver when he first came in. So Pitts would have to be chained up to that. I just wonder, like, what would be the give up on Pitts? I mean, I'd give up next year's one to go up to.
You'd have to
7
give
and
up a
get
ton.
Pitts.
I think he's a transformative player. I think he's Kelce. He's
Yeah.
dominant. He would be a dominant receiving weapon. He would change the way. I mean, this offense would become virtually, I think, unguardable. Which, by the way, kind of was last year at the end anyway, which speaks to how good of a system it is. But I think the price is probably prohibitive to doing it. I really do. I think it would be very, very difficult to make that big of a move, draft, because when you're a good team like we're going to be, you need to keep your picks because that's how you get quality pieces to replace those who are departing and being paid that you can get in at a cheaper cost. You need the draft picks. So to give up 4 picks to go get Pitts, I don't think that necessarily makes a ton of sense. And tomorrow we'll talk about Bill Barnwell's got the Browns trading out of the first round altogether, and out of just literally taking this year's first and getting into the 2022 draft, which I would be stunned at, but unless there was more compensation than he's talking about in that particular trade. We'll get into that tomorrow. But I don't see us knowing that we have big-time players at big-time positions requiring extensions that we would be in a position to give up, that much relatively cheap talent.
Yeah, I would agree. I could see it. I don't see any scenario where we go up in the top 10. I could see a scenario where a corner falls and there's one you like, and you go up to get that guy. But moving up from 26 to 6, the price on that just is prohibitive to the way I think this organization thinks. I just don't think Paul DePodesta, Andrew Barry would give up that type of goods to move up that far. Pitts is really the only one. He's the only one that would up, in that realm who would be transformative. There's, the receivers. You just are never going to pay a premium for a receiver anymore.
Correct.
It's over.
Correct.
There's too many good guys. I mean, how big of a difference is there really between Rashad Bateman and, they're totally different players, and Jamar Chase? Is it that? Is it the difference between a gold jacket? There's that. You see what I mean? There's not that much difference.
Yep.
How much difference is there between Rondale Moore and Jalen Waddle? Is it that much?
Not.
I've seen a lot of both of them, both electric.
But you're not going to mortgage.
It's not that much.
No, not
to
gonna
pick a guy 7 versus 38 or 42. You see what I mean? So I think receiver is. I don't think you'd ever do that. I think tight end is interesting. Quarterback, you'd always do that. Corner, you would do that if that would be something, or if there was a defensive end who you just loved. But those are the positions that matter most.
Is Surtain, is he even being talked about? It seems like he will be the first corner off the board, but it's not like he's being talked about like, for example, Jalen Ramsey was coming out, or even Denzel was coming out. That he's a top 5.
Yeah, I don't. Well, yeah, I don't know about that. He certainly is not getting the same type of buzz that like Jeff Okudah did last year.
Right.
But Okudah struggled in year 1, so I don't know. It's hard to say. It seems like he's the consensus one, though, right? Everybody we have on mentions him first.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Maybe that would be it. I was curious to get his thoughts. He was asked about Caleb Farley falling in the late teens and if he could see the Browns moving up to draft him. Let's have a listen to Daniel Jeremiah on that.
Yeah, Tim, it's a good question. It just is purely.
You guys are down.
Well, in terms of the background on it, the timing wasn't ideal. Obviously you wish you could have had that procedure done a little bit earlier so that they could watch you move around and confirm that you were kind of back to what we've seen on the video, which is outstanding. He's got rare movement skills for a big corner like that. So the timing doesn't help. But if you're, if you're the Browns and your medical staff has done their work and they give you the clean bill of health and there's not a long-term risk and they give you the thumbs up, absolutely he's somebody you go move up for.
10 seconds.
Again, yeah, I think he's the most talented corner in the whole draft. So that's one of those decisions that's really not going to be made by general managers. It's going to be made by your doctor.
Okay, you guys are up.
Well, there you go. There's his answer on the most talented corner in the whole draft.
I would say a lot of people think Farley was. I think PFF had him at number 1 prior to the back issue.
Yeah. So the other problem I was thinking about as we were listening to him there on Farley, the other problem with Pitts is I don't see any scenario where Pitts isn't gone by 4. I think he's going to the Falcons at 4, don't you?
Unless they take a quarterback or somebody comes up to that spot to take a quarterback.
It just doesn't it feel like they want one last ride in the sunset with Matty Ice? It seems like it to me.
It does feel
and
that
they feel
way.
like they're close.
Yeah.
Like you draft a quarterback, then why do you still have Matt Ryan? Trade him. Be out of it. Doesn't do you any good to win, at that point. Might as well let the kid play. I mean, I feel like Pitts has gone at 4. It just seems so natural. You put him with Ridley, and that's a problem.
Yeah. They'll remember they just gave up last year a second-round pick for Hayden Hurst and then signed him to a long-term deal.
Right, but to my earlier point, Pitts isn't what Hurst is. I mean, he's, you can line him up all over the place. He's more like Kelsey if you want to go that route. That's the way to do it. He's more like Jimmy Graham, when he first came in. So he's more talented. But that would be, play them both. He's a matchup nightmare all over the field. Like, play him everywhere. To me, they'd be intriguing in the South. You got Darnold with the Panthers. Who knows what's going to happen with the 2 quarterbacks with the Saints? Obviously, the Bucs are the Bucs, but you could make a run at the playoffs.
I would think so.
If you got, you'd be a problem to try to defend. Going to be fun. Good stuff out of Daniel Jeremiah there. All right, Gibby wants us to play a little bit of Super League roulette. 10-team Super League. I have a list. You have a list.
Yeah.
See how many we agree on. We will do it coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. This spring, bolster your home's defense by going on the offense with the pros at Perfect Power Wash. They are my guys, and their proven process will safely and effectively neutralize the algae, mold, and mildew currently wreaking havoc on your home and provide you with a league-leading defense against further damage. Join 100,000 satisfied customers by making the right choice for your home and go with the pros at Perfect Power Wash. The consensus #1 pick in professional power washing. Call now, 888-860-WASH, and use the promo code BEAU to save 10%. They will take care of you. I assure you, I have used them. They are absolutely fantastic. Gibby says, in honor of all the Super League talk, which just died in 48 hours.
Man.
Incredible. The challenge for us in the next 10 minutes, our 10-team NFL Super League. Gibby wants us to factor in TV ratings, popularity, whatever you want, he says. Who are the 10 teams in your Super League? Should we play Eisen's before or after ours? Gibby's important we play it before or after?
Play it after. That's fine.
After, to see if it's similar. Okay.
Let's see how many you guys match up.
All right. These are teams I did not consider that got next to no consideration for me.
Okay.
Jaguars.
Yep.
Texans.
Yep.
Titans.
Yep.
Bucks.
Yep.
Falcons.
Yep.
Colts.
Yep.
Ravens.
Yep.
Bengals.
Yep.
Jaguars. Panthers. Cardinals.
I hate the Jags
Chargers.
so much they get no consideration twice. Out.
None. Did I mention them twice?
You did.
Yes, twice. All out. They're out.
Out. Agreed.
No consideration. Did you add anybody to that no consideration list that I just had?
I gave the Seahawks no consideration whatsoever. I gave the Jets no consideration whatsoever. I gave the Dolphins no consideration whatsoever.
Okay. The Colts and Ravens, you move teams, you're out.
Out.
You're out. I don't want you. As for the three teams that you gave no consideration, I put the Jets in the category of great market. You've been run so poorly for so long, I can't consider you. You're out.
They were out for me because of the reason I gave them no consideration was I knew I was only going to have one New York team, and I would much rather have the Giants and the Jets.
Right.
So that was it.
Yes. The Seahawks were a tougher out for me because I think we don't appreciate here how big of a fan base, how rabid their fan base is, and there's a lot of money in that market, and it's run really well. The last 20 years it's been run really well. So but they were out. They did not make my list either. And the Dolphins, historic franchise, love the colors, love the idea of going to Miami. And the reason I gave them a little more consideration than some is I'm basically not going to have anybody in the South. It's kind of the way that this thing worked out for me by the time I get to the 10.
I have two Southern teams. That's it. But, yeah, I don't have – Florida is not represented.
No, not.
For me.
Here are three other teams that I did not consider – or that I considered but just had too much negative stuff going on. And they were a really hard out here. The Raiders were a hard out. I love the Raiders. I love those uniforms, but they've been so poorly run for so long.
Brother. That's a bridge too far.
Raiders are out. Raiders are out for me. Another one that has been a mess is the Washington football team.
Yep.
They're out.
Same.
And they've been around since 1933. That's a tough one to keep out.
Come on.
Yeah.
No way.
No Raiders.
Outrageous.
They've been irrelevant for a long time.
It doesn't matter. It's the franchise.
And the Lions. I have the Lions out. And the Lions are tough because they've been around a long time too.
Tough for me
and the only difference between us and the Lions is the last few years. Otherwise, we'd be in the same spot they're in.
No.
Truly.
No. Everybody would want the Browns.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, we're doing the show. These were my tough outs. Bills were a tough out, but they're out. Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings were a tough out.
Saints and Rams. Those are my others.
Saints, Rams, and then I have a tough out that I'm guessing you're going to have in because they're such a good team right now. But in my mind, once this super team happens, all the good talent is coming into these 10 teams. Okay. So part of it to me had
that could be fair.
Had to do with the brand. And there's no way that I'm having a super football league without the Raiders, without the silver and black, without the history, without Vegas, without any of it.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be in. So the Chiefs were a very hard out for me.
Okay. So I had Chiefs over Raiders. I went ownership. I went rabid fan base.
They're great.
Adores a team. The problem for me with the reason I had the Raiders out is they've been in 3 different towns in the last 20-some years. They have totally buried fan bases in 3 different times. They've buried fan bases, twice Oakland.
And yet, they're
like,
still iconic.
I just I'm not going to reward them. They are, but a lot of some of these teams are. I mean, you would say the Washington football team is iconic. And there was a time you couldn't get a ticket.
Sure.
Now, the Raiders have great uniforms.
The Raiders, right. The Raiders, for example, as you and I were growing up, you in California, me in Montana, but West Coast rap permeated its way over there. There weren't people wearing Washington football team hats. They were wearing Raiders hats.
No.
All of them. Every single one. Raiders are a part of the fabric of our society. They are part of Americana.
That's true. The same would be true, though, because they were also wearing White Sox hats at that time. And I don't think anybody, if you're putting a Major League Baseball super team together, I don't think the White Sox.
That had no staying power. That was just because they happened to come out with the coolest font in black and white that anybody had ever seen.
Black and white.
And that was it.
It was a black and white thing.
Yes.
It was a black and white
But that didn't even have staying power. You still see Raiders gear in pop culture all over the place.
Do you still? Yes. I don't know. Do you?
Yes, I'm in tune with the kids.
I don't know. Like, if you were 28, would you feel the way about the Raiders that we do?
Their stuff, that logo, still permeates pop culture.
They were a very tough out. Very tough out. Another one that was a really tough out for me was the Rams, because I'm basically punting on the L.A. market. I just don't think anybody cares.
My last 2 out were the Rams and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But I also said to myself, look, you had good teams in L.A. and both left. L.A. There's too much. There's enough going on in L.A. that it's not the market that we need.
So we have other than that, we only have one difference.
I guarantee we're gonna have.
So give me your guys.
We're gonna have 2 differences.
Give them to me.
Okay.
Give them to me.
And I did this. This was in order of inclusion by me.
Okay.
Browns, Steelers. 49ers, Raiders.
Okay.
Packers, Bears.
Yep.
Cowboys, Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona Cardinals. Because in my Super League,
no way. You just love Scottsdale.
I want to go to Scottsdale. That's right. In my Super League, I'm going to Scottsdale. It's my Super League.
It is your Super League. Yeah, can't defend it. Other than the climate. Climate's great. I would have Broncos and Chiefs would be my other 2. I'd have the same 8 as you, and I'd have Broncos and Chiefs as the other 2 that got in.
Interesting. I also felt that I needed
a
little more
good
Southwest, which is where Arizona and then the Cowboys and Texas. So you only have one team even south of maybe the midline of the country.
Yeah, that's it. Just Dallas. That's it. Don't need anybody else. I don't know that anybody else in those markets, like in comparison to the markets up here, just doesn't matter as much. You see that from a rating standpoint? You think that from a gear standpoint? It just doesn't.
They are very passionate in the Valley of the Sun. They've got great tacos.
No, they're not.
And resorts. I'll be staying
at
the Biltmore. When the Browns travel,
they're not that passionate.
When the Browns travel down to Scottsdale, we'll be at the Biltmore.
All right, let's see I know you're going to have a nice time. Let's see what Rich Eisen has to say for his 10-team Super League.
A list of 10.
All right, you guys are done.
Just throw the list up?
Put the list up. The Dallas Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Chicago Bears, the New York Football Giants, the 49ers, the Saints, the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Browns.
What?
That's my Super League. Now then, keep it up on the screen here. The Saints, you might be sitting there going, well, I mean, Breeze is gone. Because what are the Saints going to do? And my answer is I need TV ratings. I need TV ratings in the South. I've got the Dallas Cowboys in the South. I've got the Saints in the South. Every single out-of-market, top-rated market in every NFL game that does not involve the Saints, so they're out of market. New Orleans checks in. Big game between 2 teams that don't matter for the Saints or don't involve the Saints on Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night. Best out of market are the Saints. They love football. I need them. Got to have them. There's a reason why Tagley Saints are not moving out of New Orleans. And then the Raiders are a passionate fan base, and the Browns are too. I got to have them. And you can't have a Super League and get a television contract for it by telling everybody Mahomes isn't playing. That's why the Chiefs are in there. I need the New York market with the Giants. I got the Bears and the Packers, so I got a rivalry. I need a West Coast team, a California team with the Niners. You got the Raiders, who've got passionate base in the California area. And then there's the Cowboys. Got to have them. So I sat back there, and the team that was if you want first one out, popped the bubble.
First one or two out?
The Patriots. Because I know that if a TV deal's got to get done, I got to get the Kraft family involved. But I need the Saints. Got to have them. And Brady's not on the team anymore. So I bounced the Patriots. And Breeze is gone with the Saints, but Brady's not on the team anymore. And the Patriots.
Here we go. You're up.
He's overestimating the New Orleans market. It's about
totally
200,000
agree.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really small market. You don't need to worry about that market. If you want to know the team that gets the biggest pass on all of this stuff, and my guess was one of your first one ins and one of mine, and it was fourth on his, is the Bears.
Totally.
It's just that they have
They're
Chicago. They've been around forever, but they've been just largely
dreadful,
pretty brutally run for a long time. They have to be there.
It's
like them and the Packers
Bears.
have to be there.
Yeah, those were automatics for me. The Niners, honestly, the Raiders and Niners, my first 5 in were Bears, Packers, Cowboys, Raiders, Niners. I thought those had to be. If I was being objective and I was doing it not for Nathan Zegura wanting to go to Scottsdale, I would have, the Chiefs would have been in over the Cardinals. But my idea is, Mahomes is going to go play in Arizona, and I'll go hang out there a lot.
Then you'll have that.
I just wanted to go to Scottsdale.
This will not be well, I don't blame you. It's nice. The weather's good there. Among the things we will not be discussing with Joe Woods at the top of the hour is this list. We won't do that.
No.
But we will have some fun with our defensive coordinator, who will join us at the top of the hour. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You're up.
Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers for Serious Injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO today for a free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. With that, it is with great pleasure that we bring on our defensive coordinator, the great Joe Woods, into the program. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time, my man. How you been? Quiet week here in the last couple of days? Everything quiet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been quiet. Excited to get the players back. I know it's virtual right now, but feeling like we're getting back into the football part of it.
Coach, every time I run into you here in the building, I see you smiling like Christmas has come early for Joe Woods. A lot of stuff happening on the defensive side of the ball, and just overall, let's start up on the front at the end position. Tack McKinley, former first rounder, he comes in, and then Jadeveon Clowney in the last week, he makes his way here to the Browns as well. What can you tell us about those two guys that you've added into that edge rusher room?
Well, it's definitely great for our whole organization, our whole team to get these players. And I really think it says something about what we accomplished last year, that guys, are making decisions to join our team. Tack, man, he's just a great young player. I know some coaches that have coached him, especially down in Atlanta. Very strong, explosive. Right now he's very eager, to prove himself. I think he'll be a great piece for us. Jadeveon, we had our conversations with him last year. It didn't work out, but, this time around, he came here. He felt really good about the organization, all the people that he met, and made the decision to come. And we're so excited, especially for everything we put together so far on the defensive line.
So when you bring two guys in like that, first rounders, you got Miles, we already know that. I was struck in the press release. Andrew Berry's talking about what Jadeveon can do inside, and I would imagine there are going to be a lot of scenarios where you're going to have Miles, Jadeveon, and Tack on the field together. Is that something you're already getting excited about cooking up?
Oh, yeah, for sure, along with Malik, But just putting all those guys out there, the ability to move them around, to create matchups that we want to create, get the one-on-ones, that's definitely part of the plan. We did a little bit of that last year, but we'll definitely be able to do more of that for sure, regardless if the guys are outside or inside.
Coach, one thing that hearing you talk now and going back to the acquisition of these guys, and I know we'll go through some of them, all of them specifically, but the word that kind of comes to mind is versatility.
Yep.
And what that will allow you to do, both on the back end and up front, and move guys around and confuse offenses. How important is that for what you want to do defensively, and do you think you have the pieces that allow you to be as versatile as you want to be?
For sure. Starting with the D-line, I just talked about those guys, but it's funny because when I was in Denver, we took a bunch of tape of Jadeveon, what they were doing on third down, moving them around, and that's what we did in Denver, with Vaughn and Shaq Barrett and Bradley Chubb. So, that piece is there. And then adding the pieces we have at linebacker and the secondary, we'll be able to be more versatile in what we can put on the field defensively. Maybe a little bit more dying, things of that nature, but that's a lot of versatility for sure.
Coach, obviously, we heard from Kevin Stefanski that, sad to see Sheldon go, and hopefully he can maybe make his return back to the Browns. Sound like the door's very much open for that. But right now in that interior room, you've mentioned Malik Jackson already. I know you were very excited about Malik coming in. Andrew Billings comes back. Jordan Elliott, hopefully takes a big step forward in year two. But what do you like about those new guys, Billings and then especially Malik Jackson?
Yeah, well, Billings, last year, he chose to opt out, and we all understand that. But,
Sure.
When we signed him as a free agent, we were excited because, he's very strong, mobile, inside player. Felt like he would really add something to the interior of our defense. And with Malik, I had experience with Malik when I was in Denver.
Yep.
And they talked about Vaughn and DeMarcus Ware, but Malik caused a lot of problems for people because he was getting one-on-ones inside, and he created a lot of pressures on the quarterback. So putting those guys into play is just going to add to what we're able to do defensively overall.
And Joe, let's just stay on the defensive line and talk on the outside. Weaver's a guy who, we've talked about a lot on this show, and we've heard for a long time about transforming his body and the type of impact he can have. When you think of that group as a whole, what do you see there? What do you like? Is it one you're very, very comfortable with?
Oh, very, very comfortable, and that would be exciting to see what he can do. I think when he was at Boise, if I remember right, he had like 33 sacks or something like that. Just a crazy number. And, he's finding a way to get to the quarterback in college, so we feel like he'll be able to do that for us in the NFL. But just all the guys you mentioned, across the whole defensive line, it's just we feel like we've added a lot of quality depth. We've added some playmakers that not only can play against the run, but can get after the quarterback in passing situations. And it'll give us the opportunity to move them around and just create the one-on-one matchups that we want to create. So this definitely excited about what we'll be able to do.
I know Chris Kiffin is quite excited about that as well. And as is Jeff Howard on the back end of this defense. You go out, you bring in Troy Hill, and, of course, JJ3 from the Rams. Grant's coming back. Greedy's coming back. But let's stay in that safety room for a second. We know what you wanted to do last year. You never got to do it. Grant goes down early, big part of the plans. Now you bring in Johnson. You've got Ronnie Harrison, who we got last year and who I thought was just a playmaker whenever he was on the field, and Grant. You got those three safeties. What does that look like in your mind? How do you hope to deploy those guys?
Yeah, that makes you feel excited, don't you?
It sure does.
But, the thing with having those three guys, I'm used to running a lot of dime. In the past where I was at, we run over 400 snaps of dime a year.
Wow.
Last year, we only ran 16 snaps. So you can see the impact that we could have. And it's really about putting more speed on the field, about creating matchups where you feel like you have the advantage. So it'll work out once we get them all together in terms of where they're at. But I feel like all those guys have the versatility to play either safety position or the dime.
Well, that's the key. I mean, that's the thing that you're so excited about when you think about. You put yourself in the position of opposing quarterback, and you're under center in the gun, whatever, and you look out there, and you don't know which one of those three is coming, who's dropping, who's covering a slot. That is confusion at its finest, and they're all pretty similar body types too, aren't they, Coach? In terms of their look and the similar type of athletes, of course, all elite athletes. But from a confusion standpoint, I would think this would allow you to open up a whole new bag of tricks.
Oh, for sure. And they are very similar, and it could be series to series, game to game. We could let those guys move around on their own. It's that type of package that we can create with them just because of their versatility. And last year you saw a little bit of Ronnie, and we moved him around and played multiple positions. You're aware of what John can do. And, obviously with Grant coming out of college, he was covering receivers in the slot. So they can do it all, and I'm very, very excited just to get going with them.
Coach, when you've got, those guys who can, as you said, be so versatile, be so multiple, but you also at the same time, John Johnson, when he talked to us, he said, I never came off the field in L.A. He had the green dot on his helmet, and he said that's because we played in a defense where, the safety, I never left. Is that something you've ever had, a safety call or a defensive back be your play caller, and is that something that you're thinking about doing, knowing that it feels anyway, like the linebackers are you're going to be very situationally specific with them, but a guy like John Johnson III is likely to be out there every single play?
Yeah, that would be something we would consider based on how things go. I feel like we'll be okay with the green dot on the linebacker, but we considered that last year at some point during the season. But as we work through it, training camp and get into preseason, we'll make a call on what we're going to do there.
And, Coach, obviously a lot of this is predicated on health, and we heard Coach talk about Greedy and Grant progressing the way that is very much in tune to be able to play, obviously, at their full potential. As you've been around those guys this year, though, and obviously this is different with COVID and everything we've had to deal with, their mindset, having to miss and how difficult that is, and the engagement. Are you seeing it from those two guys the way that you want to see it, having missed a whole season?
Absolutely. Just really hungry to get back on the field. We're having meetings with each individual player this week, I actually get on with Grant at 3:15. Okay. But, those guys are hungry to get back on the field and prove themselves as players. I'm sure it was tough for them, last year watching us have success and not being able to be a part of it. So really, we're just concerned we're getting them back and getting them healthy and really just kind of, moving along at their pace. So early in the season, maybe those guys won't be involved as much. That's something we'll have to determine once we get into training camp. But those guys, they're ready to go. I mean, mentally they're ready to go, and they wish we were out on the field right now.
I'm sure, and we all wish they were out on the field right now. We can't wait to see it as well. Coach, what can you tell us about Troy Hill, who comes in, obviously great season last year with the Rams, and hey, when they're the number one pass defense in the league, it's not a bad idea to take 40% of their starting secondary. We did that with John Johnson and Troy Hill. But what did you like about Hill, and how do you envision deploying him?
He's versatile. Again, I mean, that's a word we're using. He can play multiple positions. I just love what he does on tape. You watch him, you see him play outside the corner, you see him moving to the slot. And, talking to him, it wasn't like, he was practicing all week moving inside and playing nickel. So just seeing what he was able to do on limited reps, man, I'm just excited. I consider myself to be a nickel guy, just in the defenses that I've coached over the years. So just based on everything I see him do, I'm really excited of doing some things for him within our packages.
Joe, let's move to the linebacker spot. You guys picked up Anthony Walker, who I don't know that I've ever seen a current player speak so glowingly about such a young player, but Darius Leonard was so nearly brought to tears with the idea that Walker wasn't going to be with the Colts anymore. And everybody, I remember Nathan said this too, like you feel like you're talking to somebody who's your age, and he's still in his early 20s, but just really has a presence about him. What have you liked about him, and what do you see for him this season on your defense?
He is a professional in every aspect of the word in terms of how he handles his business. He is going to provide leadership for us. He's going to be a guy that has some versatility in terms of the positions that he can play. And, when I talk to him, he wants it straight. Like, hey, Coach, you can shoot it to me straight. Just tell me what you need me to do. I'll go out there and do it. I don't care if it's defense, special teams. And I think a lot of that is because his dad was a coach, so he's the son of a coach. So he understands how football operates. And I think he's a great addition. And, again, he's going to allow us to do a lot of different things defensively.
Coach, one of the things we say on this program, talking about the linebackers, is you brought in Walker, you bring back Malcolm Smith, you bring back Elijah Lee, who predominantly contribute on special teams. Then you've got the three young guys, Jacob Phillips, Sione Takitaki, Mac Wilson. Is that I think that internally, and maybe you can answer this better than I can, we like our linebackers a lot more than maybe people outside this building seem to. I thought linebackers played well last year, and I think you're set up for that again this year. What do you think about your linebacking core and the diversity of skill sets and body types that you have in there?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I feel like we have a great group of young linebackers. Last year, our system's different. We put more pressure on our linebackers in terms of what we ask them to do. And having those guys come back, the guys that played last year, is really going to be good because they'll be a lot better this year because they're going to understand more what we were asking them to do. And then to have that depth and how we used them, Malcolm was more of a sub guy. Anthony Walker played within the scheme. He understands it. Elijah was with us in San Francisco.
Yep.
It's just a great fit overall. Just feel like we have, really too deep in terms of our linebackers that are able to play for us at a high level.
Coach, I want to ask you about Jacob Phillips because I think, week 17, he steps in at the mic, 10 tackles in a huge situation. And I think he was somebody that we always expect. He's got that size, the length, sideline to sideline, great tackler. Is he somebody that, you really have your eye on to take a big leap in year two and that you're counting on, to take a big leap for your defense?
For sure. He's a guy when the lights come on, he plays, and he just runs and hits. Now, he's not always in the right spot. That's what happened to him early as he was learning, and you can understand that just based on everything going on. But just with the size, the length, the athleticism, the effort in which he plays in, I mean, those are all things that, Coach Tarver, Coach Bloom, they're excited about, I'm excited about, and we definitely feel like he's going to take a big step for us this year in base and sub defense.
Coach, we'll leave you with this one because we saw the changes in the numbers that have happened, and Beau and I have been trying to wonder, who is going to legislate this. If you've got multiple guys on your defense looking at these single-digit numbers, is that something that you're going to handle? Is that something that Coach Stefanski is going to handle? Have players already started talking to you about numbers? I feel like this is a big story here.
Yeah, well, I think some players' wallets are probably going to get a little bit light to get some of these numbers. Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure it out. I just want to make sure I have them all out there when everything starts.
Has anyone contacted you yet, Coach? Say, hey, Coach, you got my back on this?
No, that's something the
Not
players do. Like I said, they're going to have to open the wallet a little bit to get some of these numbers. So they're going to handle it internally. I've already heard about a few things going on, so I think all the numbers work out just fine.
What a time to be Cody
Coach,
Parkey and Jamie Gillen. What a time.
Yeah, boy. You ain't wrong there. That's good stuff. Coach, appreciate your time, man. Great talking to you.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Go
Coach.
Brown.
Absolutely. That's our defensive coordinator, Joe Woods. Boy, no kidding. You think about the hammer pad in that pocketbook.
Oh, man. I
Sitting on that
guarantee.
7.
I guarantee Delpit has already talked to him. Guaranteed.
Lock. That's a lock. I guarantee somebody's already talked to Cody about 2.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a matter of how many.
Right. He might be in a better bidding situation.
Yeah. I feel like 2 would be universal. Like everybody's going to want to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's offense or defense. Do you want to know the thing that was so telling? The most telling thing of that entire interview was when we were talking about the 3 tight ends. And he said that he had the exact amount of snaps that he played dime, 416.
That's the one thing I wrote down. 416.
416. So when people say, did Joe Woods, man, he made chicken salad here, guys.
Yes.
And you know the rest of it.
Yes.
He made chicken salad. He was not able to coach the defense that he wanted to coach. Was not. He wanted to play 400 snaps in dime. He played 16. He had those numbers at the ready. You didn't have to think about them.
Right. Pretty specific numbers. And guess what 400 represents? So last year, counting the playoffs, just to put this in perspective, Money Mitch played every defensive snap with 2 playoff games and was at 12.25. So let's go ahead and wind that back. Take the playoff games out. So take out 160 basically right there. So we're talking about just over 1,000 snaps defensively in a season. He wants to be in dime basically 40% of the time. He got to do it last year 1% of the time.
1% of the time. Yeah. So that was one that needed to be illuminated a little bit for the people. Go ahead.
You're going to see a lot of Ronnie, JJ3, and Grant with Tack, Clowney, Malik, and Miles. You're going to see those 7 on the field, and obviously Denzel's going to be out there. Could be Hill, could be Greedy, could be both.
Could be both.
You're going to see that core so much that it's going to almost feel like our base defense, and it is going to be – you do not want to be in 3rd and long against the 2021 Cleveland Browns. You don't.
No.
And we're going to get you there.
Do you know how cool those guys –
oh, my God. It's
going
to be
cool
awesome.
those guys are going to look if it's
oh, my God.
If it's 7, 9, and 15, which is I think what Harrison wore in Alabama.
He
if
did.
It goes 7, 9, 15 on the back end. Jeez. Come on. That's good time. We will revisit some comments from Daniel Jeremiah in regard to Greg Newsome, the cornerback out of Northwestern. Also, the idea of us taking a defensive lineman in this draft, specifically a defensive tackle. That is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be sure to catch the latest edition of Gibbs's Priority, the best podcast available. Another one is out today, wherever you get your podcasts.
You seem a little inadequate when you read this.
Inadequate?
I do.
I think,
no,
I don't think that
more
word
than
means
adequate.
what you think it means.
Unenthusiastic?
Yes.
Fact, yes,
No,
that would be true.
like mine.
I did notice that this tucks into, as I subscribe to the Cleveland Browns Daily podcast, I noticed that this just shows up in that envelope.
Yeah.
Just slips in.
Gibby's burner
Go
won't
back
shut
to
up about
reviewing
it.
your shows?
Gibby's burner won't shut up about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you just keep hearing about it. Brugler's on, so you have that to look forward to, which is nice. Charlie Yook is on as well, NFL Network Vice President of Productions, and they will preview the draft. We heard from Daniel Jeremiah earlier in the show as he did a media call about the draft and was asked a couple other things we want to get to. First of all, there's been a lot of momentum about Christian Barmore to the Browns at the end of the first round. Daniel Jeremiah was asked about that and had this to say.
I mean, I think he's, I think he goes
You guys are down.
to the back end of one. I think more than likely he goes in round two. Like he fits the profile of what traditionally are the second round guys, and that he's a little bit of a boom bust player where you have high highs and then you've got some inconsistent lower lows. At Alabama, some of the stuff that he had to do at Alabama, I don't know if that suited him as well. To me, he's more of an upfield guy. Let him use his athleticism to attack an edge and work upfield. Asking him to kind of play blocks and hang in there, that's really not his style, even though he's a big guy at 6'4", 310. So to me, he's a three technique who's got some real athleticism to jump in gaps, get upfield, and go. So that to me kind of it puts him for me in the second round mix. I think he's my 42nd player. So that's kind of where I have him. Would I be shocked if he were to go? The Browns are 26, and say, is that a big reach? No, I don't think that's a big reach. If you feel like he fits what you do. But I think there is some risk involved. There's some games where he just kind of disappears. So the ability is there, but that's kind of where I have him.
Was that a ho hum move for you, or did that raise your eyebrows at all when they cut Richards?
No, I didn't. It didn't register as a big time move there. The challenge is in this draft, which is this
30 seconds.
defensive tackle. I call it is what it is. It's the worst defensive tackle group that I've seen since I started in 2003. I've got two guys really. When you talk about Barmore and Onwuzurike, like whatever order you want to put those in, I have Onwuzurike, but those are the only two guys that I would be fired up in the first 10
seconds
picks. So it's just a really thin year. So maybe it was eye raising just from that standpoint, knowing that there's there's not a lot of reinforcements coming.
You're up.
That's interesting.
Did he say 70 picks
70?
right there?
Yeah, 70.
Two defensive tackles he would take in the top 70. He doesn't even think Barmore is the top defensive tackle in the draft class, it sounded like, from that comment that he made there as well. Let's go back real quickly to Joe Woods, just to kind of give a little color to this. He loves Malik Jackson. He's coached Malik Jackson. He's seen firsthand Malik Jackson play at a high level. Billings is a different body type and has a totally different role. They also like Elliott a lot. So I think you want Sheldon to come back, but it feels to me, again, that we just talked about what's it going to look like when the other team's passing the football. It's going to look like Clowney, Miles, Tack, Malik Jackson. So I find it hard to get my head around unless they think that Barmore is something that I would guess other teams don't, which is an incredible pass-rushing interior defensive lineman who probably wouldn't go at 26 if that were, in fact, the case. You think about where a guy like a Gerald McCoy went who was regarded like that, or some of these studs that could get to the quarterback. I just don't see that. I don't see that happening.
Well, the other thing, when we went through the list of things that matter to Andrew Berry, production matters in college, and his production's all over the place. So that's the other thing that just doesn't check a box for me in terms of him being there, the pick at 26. It just doesn't. And I just don't think it's a position of need that some people think that it is. One of the positions of need certainly is corner, and one of the guys we've talked about a lot is Greg Newsome. Here's Daniel Jeremiah on Greg Newsome in this draft.
he's a really
You guys are down.
fluid athlete. So you start there. His movement stuff is phenomenal. He's got, incredible ball skills. He can find and play the ball, which to me is like the number one non-negotiable, for me at that position. You've got to be able to find and play the ball. He does that really well. The only knock when you watched him on tape was like, okay, I've questioned like just how much pure juice does he have, how much top speed. He wasn't really challenged vertically in any of the games that I studied. So I was curious about that, and he goes and runs 4.38. So he answered the bell on that one. The one thing in talking to teams that they have, concerned about, and you put it in the negative column, it's just he's missed a lot of games. So he's missed some games in just about every year. So from the durability standpoint, he gets dinged a little bit, but everything checks out. And then everything I've heard about the kid, he's a great kid. So you're in good shape there.
You're up.
Yeah, I think he checks a lot of the boxes that you'd want. The question is, and there just seems to be more and more momentum, that if you want one of these guys, if there are 4, if there are 5, I mean, heck, there could be 5 of them gone by the time you pick at 26 if you're set on taking a corner.
Yeah, and that's where this is going to get interesting if you're the Browns, is that most of the mocks you see now, Newsome's gone. Farley's gone.
Yeah.
Surtain certainly is gone. J.C. Horn certainly is gone. Those two, not a chance. You have seen some where Newsome's there. You've seen some where Farley is there. I just participated in a mock where I was able to get Newsome at 26. And so what's interesting for the Browns is, and we might not be right at all. We might have it set in our head that if one of those guys is there at 26, that might not be what Andrew Barry's thinking. But if they are there, maybe that's the pick. If they're not there, what are the options that are truly available to you that intrigue this organization? I think they're only, again, and based on nothing. This is not scores, so do not interpret this as scores, whatever. We'll tell you to pay attention to scores when it's appropriate. This is just me. It feels to me like if it's not one of those corners, and maybe they like Asante Samuel Jr. that much. Maybe they like Elijah Molden.
Sure.
Charles Davis just put 17 players he'd pound the table for. Elijah Molden's one of those 17.
Yep.
So there could be more corners they like. Or I think if they were to go, everybody's talking linebacker. I think if you listen to what we just did with our defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, they like the linebackers.
They like them.
And guess what? They're not going to be on the field a ton in this defense.
No.
So if it was somebody they felt was transformative, let's take JOK for an example. If he thought JOK could bring an athleticism and even more versatility with his ability to cover out of the slot, play linebacker, be a missile, all of those things, maybe they consider JOK. I don't think they consider just a traditional off-ball linebacker there. Could be wrong, but
agree.
Jamin Davis, maybe. Great athlete, sideline to sideline, huge riser. But my hunch would be not. And that brings me to wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think right now, you heard he was kind of fired up about Curtis Weaver, by the way, when you mentioned him. You already have the other 3 guys. They brought back Porter Gustin. Maybe it is a defensive end because you don't have Tack or Clowney under contract in 2022. You don't have your receivers set up where your top 4 guys, I'll call Donovan Peoples-Jones top 4, but take your top 5. Kadarius Hodge, who signed a 1-year deal here.
Mm-hmm.
4 of those 5 are not guaranteed to be on your roster in 2022. And it is likely that at least 2 of them won't be on your roster in 2022. It's going to be too hard to do all of that. So I think that is, if you can bring somebody in this year, have them play and contribute, and then be ready for next year, that seems to make a lot of sense to me as well.
I would agree with you, and I think the 2 words, they're familiar to those who listen regularly. It's elite traits. That's what you're looking for. So that's where you transcend your position. So that would be JOK, would be a great example of that. The receiver that I think has elite traits, there's several of them, but the one I like the most is Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. I think his size and speed combination, the way he can track the ball, that would be somebody who'd be very, very intriguing. And I'm not saying that this is the guy. I'm not. You've mentioned Ojulari before. Another guy that has those elite physical traits is Jason Owe out of Penn State. Now, that's what I think that's when you throw out, the measure, like JOK. You almost throw out that he's not really even a linebacker. He didn't play linebacker at Notre Dame.
Correct.
He's more of He's like what they were trying to do with Simmons with the Cardinals. But he's a guy who can cover, who can blitz. He's like a missile. He's a better cover, yeah. So he's somebody that when you play those three safeties, he could be the fourth guy in that rotation.
Yep.
And he could come in at linebacker a little bit. So all of those guys are that elite athletic trait guy that transcends the position they play. And I do agree with you on wide receiver. I've been talking about that for a long time. I think some people are finally catching up with us on it. That is something that would seem to make a lot of sense. And it's just, do you have those specific traits that match up? And so that's speed, size, stuff that's different. Those are the things to pay attention to on that front. You ought to pay attention to the next segment because it's a mailbag, kids. That's what it is. It's coming up next.
Let's go.
You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. It's Beau Bishop from my great friends at Northeast Factory Direct. And if you're sick and tired of your outdated kitchen, now's the time to upgrade it. And when you do so, go to Northeast Factory Direct. You know they've got the high-quality name-brand furniture. Those hot tubs, those are half the price of the fancy retail stores. But at Northeast, they also get the high-quality cabinets. They get them to you to 60 to 70% less than the expensive kitchen remodeling stores. It's easy. You make an appointment, you bring in some basic measurements, and they're going to walk you through everything. And the best part of this, the appointment, the design, those are free. Add that to the fact you're paying 60 to 70% less. It's a win for you. Northeast Factory Direct cuts out all the costs associated with traditional stores. You can buy nice stuff at really nice prices. They also have 0% financing available, so if you're thinking about remodeling your kitchen, it is simple. Go to northeastfactorydirect.com and schedule your appointment today. Time for a little Mailbag Thursday edition. Hello, Gibby.
Hey, we didn't do this last week. We had other things going on.
Sad.
When Jadeveon Clowney gives you a few minutes, you got to kind of bump things.
That's right. Doesn't even matter if you're on vacation.
I feel like this is a masthead segment. Like this segment should be there through thick and thin.
I'd like to see it sponsored.
Yeah, be a good idea.
Yeah. We'll move on. Get some questions in. You can tweet them at the show, at Browns_Daily. Use the hashtag AskCBD. Logan tweets at the show, which is more likely to happen? A trade for Stephon Gilmore before the draft or trading up for a wide receiver on day 2 of the draft?
Trading up for a wide receiver on day 2 or trading for Stephon Gilmore?
Yes.
Both seem very, very rare to me. I guess second.
I'll say trade up for a receiver. I could see us moving up in the second round if there's somebody we really like that we think we can get there, one of the Moores or a Diami Brown. I could see us moving up in the second or moving up in the third. I would have to put that, as much as I would like to see Stephon Gilmore here. I think that would be great. We know nothing about it, which probably means that maybe it does have a chance of happening because things happen here they just happen. That's the way it works in this building.
Often.
But I think it is much more likely that we would move up to get a receiver on day 2 than it is right now that we get Stephon Gilmore, even though I'd be thrilled to have Stephon Gilmore here.
I also don't think New England's interested in doing that, right? I mean, they think they're going to win in a certain way this year.
I don't know. I keep hearing his name popping up in things.
It was at the beginning of the offseason. That was a heavily
I remember that in the offseason.
Rumored scenario that he was on the trade block and could be on the move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brad tweets at the show, at Browns_Daily, using the hashtag AskCBD. Do you see anything other than corner as the main option in round 1?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
I'll
just say this. I've been saying it. We just played it out last segment. Andrew Berry will not reach for a corner at 26.
Correct.
So if let's say the board is what the board is, and there's separation between, and he feels like everybody else, that there's 4 corners that are elite, and then there's a drop-off between 5 through 9. If he has corners 5 through 9 rated somewhere between 42 and 50, 55, he's not going to take that player at 26.
Correct.
So, yes.
Correct. Everything is on the table. We are not forced into anything that you must do in this draft. I think it's all on the table. From where we sit, corner seems to be the ideal scenario. I think wide receiver is in play. I think JOK is in play. I don't necessarily think linebackers in play. I think somebody like JOK, who's that special of a versatile piece, could be in play. I think defensive end remains in play if they find elite traits. I think it's about traits, and it's about upside, and it's about talent much more than it is about position, especially if the guys that they want at the position that feels like the biggest need right now, which is corner, is not available.
Yes.
All right. Joe tweets at the show, question for Big Nate.
Oh.
I don't think you like being called Nate.
Big Nate's fine. It's fine.
Big Nate's okay.
Big right. Z.
S calls you Nate.
Yes.
Well,
Money Mitch. Money Mitch called you Big Nate.
Money Mitch called me Big Nate. So Big Nate is in. Straight Nate, just a pure Nate.
Endearment.
No, I'm not a pure Nate.
Good. What was more unsettling, the Red Wedding or what happened to Jamie at I'm gonna totally screw the pooch on this one. I don't.
The prison. He's talking about the prison in Outlander.
Sure.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
As disturbing.
Don't give me much because I haven't seen it yet.
As,
I haven't seen Outlander, and it's in the queue, so don't give away too much.
I won't. All I'll say is this: as disturbing and as shocking and horrifying what we saw was at the Red Wedding, it was a much, 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 much more uncomfortable watch. What happened to poor Jamie? Much.
Jeez. Well, I guess that tells me what happens there. I mean, that sorts that out pretty quickly. Yeah. Red Wedding is the most shocking thing you've ever seen on television.
Correct.
I mean, the context of it, the brutality of it,
the swiftness,
the swiftness, the fact that even when you think it's over, it's worse. There's more that's worse. Like it just never. It's just an anguish. It's just one incredible, shocking, gross anguish after another.
The sending of regards.
Ever filmed.
No, like that.
Well,
that
the fact
was.
Well, how about even the dire wolf at the end? We got even he got. I mean, it just was no end to it. There was no end to it. That's
probably the biggest jaw on the floor television moment of my life. Just absolutely stupefying. This was a slow burn to something terrible in Outlander. That from a negative standpoint, and then Arya with Night King in real time was great.
The positive side of it.
Great.
So those were the
Arya Jordan, the jump.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, Ned Stark episode 9, season 1 is also that was like.
Yeah, that's there.
That was an God. This show is different.
It's hard to put yourself back in that frame of mind, though, because you have the experience of everything that followed now.
Sure.
If you can put yourself back into watching it in real time, which I did, I know you did too. I wasn't binging at that time. The idea that you had to wait a week to go, wait, that didn't really happen. No way that happened.
Right.
But that set it off.
There was at no point in time when he was up there that you thought it was ending with his head leaving his body.
He was a star of the show.
The star. He was on every poster. He was the central character of the show. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And they'd worked it out.
I'm actually really thrilled that nobody ruined any of that for us in real time, which is remarkable.
Amazing.
Because there were people who've read the books that would have the information.
Sure.
If the Browns trade back from number 26 to the early second round, say 33-40, he says, this is Sonny who tweets at the show, what compensation would they get based on earlier draft data?
It depends if they want to move it.
Depends on the team.
Right. Depends on the team. It depends on who they want. Depends on it's the market at the time. I also think that it is probably more likely that the Browns would say, okay, we're going to need your 2 and maybe, your 1 next year or a 2 next year. I think it would be something. I bet you'll get something in the 2022 draft as well that would be significant. I think if you're moving out of the first round this year, you're getting – that's going to go to that team's 2 that's, I guess, picking early in the second, and you're going to want a significant pick for them in 2022 as well, I bet.
More famous Sonny, Crockett or Corleone?
That's good. I'm going to go Corleone.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do, but I think if it was a question that you were asked 15 years ago, it's probably Crockett at that time.
I think that's probably fair. I think it's an excellent.
That one has lived longer than the other. Both legends, though.
Definitely.
The Menudo Man tweets at the show, if you were to submit a question for the Ask CBD segment, what would it be?
I'll go first. Is there anything more suspicious than blocking your own burner? Is there anything that would make you appear more guilty of burner creation than blocking your own burner? Gibby.
Yeah, and just to follow up with that, what I would want to know is, would Gibby submit to a lie detector test?
100%. Let's go.
Yeah, that's what. You might.
Okay, first of all, he could pass it anyway. Yes, exactly. There's no doubt. It's not a lie if you believe it.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
Gibby could beat a lie detector test.
He'd just be able to power through it. He could easily beat it. Yeah.
All right.
I've watched a lot of shows with, like the Americans. They added some good lie detector test scenes where it's beatable. Gibby is the perfect man
Great
to beat
show,
it.
by the way.
ice in his veins.
Yeah, he would.
He probably knows the techniques.
I guess the better one
clenching.
is, what if I could give you truth? Would Gibby submit to truth serum?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got nothing
Those
to
would
hide.
be-
What do you want to know?
Yeah, he's got no shame.
No.
I
He's got no
don't.
shame in it.
You better be careful.
Even in his own deceit?
I might tell you more than you want to hear.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Lock. That is an absolute lock.
Would you hold on, let me ask you this. Would you take truth serum if criminal charges could be filed based on what was shared while under serum?
Statute of limitations. I'm good.
If statute of limitations were waived.
Well,
no. Maybe.
And that was
Whatever,
Ask
man. I had a
CBD. You're
good
listening
run.
to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. The 2021 NFL Draft is coming here next week. You can be a part of the action at the NFL Draft Experience. The NFL Draft Experience, free football celebrations open to families and fans of all ages. And the NFL just released additional tickets. Space is limited. Get your free tickets today by downloading the NFL One Pass app. Greg Cosell's on with us tomorrow.
Yeah.
Boy, that'll be just a fun deep dive on Stefanski and our offense and Baker. I mean, that's going to be pure joy. That's a pure joy Friday.
Oh, my goodness. It's going to be just a delight. There's
30.
nobody. I love talking with Mr. Cosell.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So that'll be fun. We have that to look forward to, which is nice. And you have the next level to look forward to. We are